We communicate constantly with words, with glances, with shared silence. Yet beneath the surface of our conversation lies an entire unspoken vocabulary, the language of gesture. It is a system so fundamental to being human that we rarely pause to consider its power. A simple point can direct attention, a wave can signal farewell across a crowded square, even the slight tilt of the head can convey volumes of doubt or understanding. These non-verbal signals are not mere decoration, they are core mechanisms of meaning. Consider for instance the universal thumbs up, an instant affirmation whose origins are debated, or the careful placement of hands during an apology, a gesture designed to bridge social distance. From pointing at a distant landmark to the intricate choreography of ritual dance, gestures shape how we perceive reality and how we connect with one another. They are the immediate evidence of our shared humanity, prompting us to ask, where did this complex grammar of movement truly begin? From early cave paintings depicting hunting scenes to modern courtroom testimonies, movement has always been a record keeper. These gestures are etched into our cultural DNA, suggesting an evolution far deeper than mere habit. The question of gesture's origin leads us deep into the fossil record, past fully modern signs and complex rituals. Here, we must look for the fainter echoes, the basic communicative actions that marked a cognitive leap. Consider the early hominins, species like Australopithecus or Homo erectus*. While direct evidence of pointing is elusive, comparative studies with extant primates suggest an increasing capacity for manual signaling. Was it merely indicating a ripe fruit, or perhaps warning about a predator's path? These gestures represent more than just showing, they embody the ability to share abstract knowledge, to communicate something that is not immediately present or visible. This shift from purely vocal calls to purposeful, directed movement suggests an early development in theory of mind and coordinated group cooperation. It marks a profound departure from instinctual behavior, hinting at the dawn of symbolic thought within our ancestors. Such early manual signaling might have involved coordinated actions like tool use, pointing to a striking rock, or demonstrating how to strike it. These foundational acts suggest that communication was becoming an integral part of survival strategy, solidifying the link between physical dexterity and burgeoning intelligence. This transition marks perhaps the most profound cognitive leap in human history, the shift from merely pointing at something to representing a concept entirely separate from what is visible. This was the dawn of symbolism. Instead of an indexical gesture, a direct pointer, early humans began using gestures that stood for things or ideas themselves. Consider the act of miming hunting. The hands are not actually catching prey, but they stand in for the entire complex action and its meaning. Theorists suggest this ability to decouple a sign from its referent was absolutely crucial for the development of language as we know it. It allowed abstract thought, the planning of future hunts, or remembering past dangers, to become communicable. The evidence remains tantalizingly sparse, requiring us to interpret fossilized behavioral patterns with immense caution. Yet, these early symbolic acts suggest that communication transcended mere necessity. It became a powerful tool for collective knowledge and cultural transmission. Archaeological finds like engraved ochre markings or cave paintings offer glimpses of this nascent symbolic life. These early visual narratives suggest a burgeoning capacity to record and share complex information beyond immediate survival needs. The transition from simple communication to structured ritual marks a profound cognitive leap. If symbolic gestures allowed for the sharing of knowledge, then coordinated rituals provided the framework for that knowledge to stick, to become collective memory. These early ceremonies were not merely celebrations, they were highly complex social technologies. Whether coordinating the final stages of a massive group hunt or marking the turning of a season, shared action demanded synchronization and trust on an unprecedented scale. The necessity of performing these rites together reinforced cooperation, transforming individual survival instincts into cohesive group identity. It was within these patterned, predictable structures that the most advanced forms of social bonding were forged. These rituals likely served as the crucible where abstract thought, the ability to plan for future events, or remember a distant teaching, was hammered into durable cultural practice, setting the stage for the development of complex human society itself. Consider the rhythmic chanting accompanying these rites, a shared auditory focus that synchronized minds. This collective rhythm stabilized group emotion, transforming mere survival into a deeply embedded cultural narrative. The next frontier in this evolution was not cognitive but tactile. How do we communicate comfort without words? The simple act of touch, a hand on the shoulder, a gentle caress, or the rhythmic patting of a back transcends language barriers and cultural divides. These gestures are physical manifestations of empathy, an ability to recognize and share another's emotional state. While some early caregivers may have simply reacted instinctually, the persistence and specificity of these comforting touches suggest they evolved into meaningful rituals. They became codified ways of affirming kinship, signaling safety, and transmitting care across generations. From the cradle rocking in ancient homes to the communal handholding at rites of passage, touch serves as a powerful nonverbal language. It is a physical contract of mutual support, cementing bonds that allow complex societies to endure. Consider the universal gesture of holding a child close, a primal reassurance found from indigenous tribes to modern urban families. This physical proximity suggests an evolutionary imperative. That sustained emotional connection, signaled by touch, was vital for survival. These gestures are not mere habits, they are deeply ingrained biological blueprints for belonging. If the need for connection is primal, then the ways we mark those connections, the rituals, are perhaps even more profound. Across continents and millennia, human societies have developed elaborate systems to manage life's most significant transitions: birth, passage into adulthood, marriage, and death. These global rites of passage are not random, they follow remarkably consistent structural patterns. whether an initiation ceremony involves physical endurance, a wedding demands the exchange of symbolic goods, or a funeral requires structured separation from the living, we repeatedly observe three core functions at play. First, marking boundaries, the clear transition from one state to another. Second, establishing social status and belonging. And third, acknowledging something transcendent, whether that is the spirit world, the ancestors, or simply the passage of time itself. By analyzing these universal structural elements, anthropology suggests a shared cognitive architecture, a fundamental human need not just to survive, but to understand where we are in relation to each other and to what lies beyond us. Consider the universal structure of mourning, from public display to private remembrance. These shared patterns, the structured grief, the communal support, the eventual reintegration, reveal a deep, shared human mechanism for processing loss. The capacity for gesture itself is profoundly universal. Our hands and bodies are equipped with an astonishing range of expressive potential. Yet if we trace these gestures across continents, that raw potential quickly meets the constraints of culture. The most striking example is perhaps the simple act of greeting. A handshake in one nation might be viewed as a casual formality elsewhere, while bowing deeply signals respect in another. Even seemingly universal signs like pointing can carry wildly different social weight depending on local customs and power dynamics. This variation suggests that gesture is not merely an instinctual overflow, it is a highly coded language learned through immersion. Our biology provides the hardware, but culture writes the software. The meaning of a wave, the appropriate distance during conversation, or even the direction of looking, these are localized rules. They demonstrate the critical interplay between our innate physical capabilities and the complex, ever-shifting social structures we build around ourselves. Consider how different cultures manage personal space. The acceptable proximity during conversation varies dramatically. These localized rules of engagement prove that while our bodies are universal tools, their expressive language is entirely dictated by shared human agreement. This brings us to one of humanity's most enduring puzzles: the relationship between gesture and speech. Was complex syntax simply an evolution of manual communication? Several theories propose that our capacity for structured gesturing, the pointing, the illustrating, the counting, was a necessary precursor to fully develop spoken language. In fact, some researchers argue that gestures and words did not develop sequentially, but rather emerged simultaneously from a shared cognitive architecture. The evidence is compelling, suggesting that we process meaning through both hands and mouth in tandem. However, establishing a definitive timeline remains incredibly challenging. We can observe the sophisticated interplay today: a hand movement clarifying an abstract concept, or a facial expression modifying a spoken tone but pinning down. When this dual system first coalesced, requires caution. It suggests a profound unity between our physical actions and our verbal thoughts. Consider sign languages, which offer a direct window into gestural grammar. These visual manual systems prove that complex syntax can exist entirely without vocalization. This suggests gesture is not merely an aid to speech, but a fundamental, parallel language system in its own right. Ultimately, the study of human gestures and rituals reveals something far more profound than just communication efficiency. It suggests that our capacity for symbolic action, the ability to use one thing to represent another, is perhaps the defining hallmark of our species. From the ancient pointing finger directing attention to a kill site, to the complex choreography of a modern political rally, or even the simple tap on a glass screen, we are still participating in this deep evolutionary grammar. Our gestures are not static. They are living echoes, adapting and reinterpreting themselves across millennia. They allow us to build shared meaning, to coordinate large groups, and to transmit culture without needing a single spoken word. This enduring echo confirms that the human mind is inherently physical. Our thoughts manifest through movement, solidifying gesture as an evolving, fundamental language system, one that continues to shape who we are, even in the digital age. Whether navigating a crowded subway platform or signing a digital document, these movements confirm our deep connection to shared human history. Gesture remains the universal syntax of belonging.